What's up, everyone? Jeremy Majors here with Majors Academy Dog Training out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and this is Dog Behavior Q&A number 95. That's right, we've done 94 others, and they're all on YouTube or on my Facebook. And some of them have titles or subjects that we talk about. But if you're watching this probably after 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, then we are no longer live. Okay, so if you ask a question, don't expect me to answer that thing live. I'll have to type it in. So we're here every Thursday and around 6 p.m. And those of you who are watching, hi! Please feel free to ask as many questions as you like. It only helps others. It might even help you. I'll do the best I can to answer all your questions. All right, let's get started. Hi, Jeremy. How do I teach my dog Lucy not to be aggressive to strangers? She tries to bite them, and if I put her in a crate, she still comes and tries to bite guests. She's a Chihuahua. There's no hope for your dog. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, well, there's a lot of things that you should be doing. Hi, how are you? For one, let's just give you a general answer, since that was a general question. I would say check out my videos, my do-it-yourself videos on YouTube first. There's a whole playlist on how to add structure into your dog's life that will help your dog listen more when it counts. So, because that's what ultimately has to happen. Dog has to be able to listen to you when it matters, and when guests are over or when guests aren't over. If the dog listens to you without guests, that's a good starting point. So, adding structure to that dog's life will definitely help open up the dog's mind for the possibility of a new perspective through your leadership. That's it. So, good. I'm glad you're watching, bud. Glad you're here. We don't have much to talk about, but I'll make up something. All right, next question. I have a German Shepherd. She only goes crazy when people walk in the house. On walks, she's awesome. And out in public, she's awesome. How do I get her to not go crazy when people walk into the house? Once again, pretty simple. You have to give the dog a job to do. But more so than that, the dog has got to listen to you. So start getting the dog to listen to you when there's no one around and it's convenient for her not to listen to you. Or it's convenient for you to not make her listen. But those are the crucial moments when you can get your dog to listen to you when it's very stressful, like when people come in. So half the battle is getting your dog to listen to you when it's just you and your dog, or when there's nothing around that stresses the dog out. If you have a high level of obedience in those areas, and your dog will listen to you much better when stress is presented, no matter what. So it all starts within the home, in my opinion. So add structure in the house when it's just you and him, or you and the dog. Okay? Thank you for your question. People that are watching, just joining in on YouTube and Facebook. We are live on both. Ask me some questions. Ask as many questions as you like. There's no silly question. There's no dumb question. Your question will help someone out there. Promise you. All right? Feel free to ask. Okay. Next question. How do I get my dog to stop barking in the car, at guests in the house, and at dogs in the car? Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the car situation. There's a lot of dogs that are, um, you know, have a tough time dealing with in the car. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning. I think it's important as dog owners, when we are raising our dogs, to get the dog to really be okay with what goes on in the car. There's a lot of dogs that are very high stimulated when there's all this stuff going on, cars, people, other dogs that are passing, you know, that it's going on while the dog is in the car. So I think it's very crucial if you do have a dog that's sort of easily stimulated in that environment to maybe crate the dog in the car. Crating is safe. Is safer for the dog in the car, no doubt, but it also sort of takes away some of that possibility of the dog becoming overstimulated. I do know that there are dogs that become sick from having all that stimulation in the car. But more so than that, so now you know you've got the crate situation, and that's a good one. That's a good starting point. But then again, you want your dog to listen to you more so than it listens to itself. There's a lot of dogs that really stress out over oh, over everything in the car, you know, and so they've got to listen to you in order to feel better about what's going on around them. And so, pretty simple. What we do is just put the dog in a down and make them stay there. All right. Just posted up a little video of a dog that we were working on being calm in the car, and so it's probably down a little bit, but check it out. All right, got a question. Okay. All right, let me see. Hold on, I gotta bring up this question. So the other thing is too, I was talking to another a trainer, an agility trainer, about their dog in the car, and they were saying how, you know, the dog is just really crazy in the car. But when you have a dog who is doing a job like a sport, you know you want to harness that energy, and when you do that so much, you may be um, you may be reinforcing that energy in the wrong areas. And so that dog is super anxious in the crate because we taught the dog to anticipate the next move so much so that the dog is super anxious about getting out of the car and doing something all the time, because the owner feeds off that, and the dog performs well because of that anticipatory energy. Okay. Question: Kennel Buster, but can't afford a $500 crate. Chewing and breaking steel bars, zip ties aren't working. Hard to be 100% consistent with e-collar correction while watching a camera. Bark collar isn't settling down. Still chewing bars. I've got a dog that's like that right now. You will run into dogs that are just scared to be in an enclosed area. So what I would decipher, if you haven't already, why is the dog trying to get out? Is the dog in fact suffering from a phobia of being enclosed, or is the dog having separation anxiety? And then once you know that, If the dog is suffering from separation anxiety, uh, one of the things that you can do is I have a dog who is an escape artist at the moment, and the bark collar has worked for me. Um, Make sure you're using a quality bark collar. I only use Dogtra, but sometimes I'll use two of them, double them up, and um, that way I've had success. But my dog, more so than separation anxiety, just doesn't want to go to the bathroom outside, and that's why the dog's trying to get out. So yeah, figure out why more so, and then there are different ways that you can go about keeping that dog in the kennel. But if that dog is claustrophobic, it's going to be pretty tough to get the dog over that. But also, sometimes it's not about the separation anxiety either, or the behavior inside the crate that we have to concentrate on. Sometimes we have to leave enough time for all of the other training that you um, instill in the dog to actually manifest and uh, um, help the dog in the crate. Because, for example, again, the dog that I'm working with is an escape artist, which includes fences and but now all of that has gotten better because of all the training that has been involved the last 3 weeks. So sometimes you have to leave time enough for other areas to sort of catch up to helping that separation anxiety or whatever it may be. So time could be another big factor. But if it gets more difficult than that, then I would say I'd have to keep the dog in order to really, really tell you what's up. Because sometimes, there's little to nothing that you can do to keep a dog in an enclosed space, especially if they're older. So, if you want more information, just give me more information of the dog. But thank you for your question. Hope all is well down there in Milwaukee. All right, next question. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, here we go. My beagle slash pit doesn't seem to like. Oh, wait, wrong one. Okay. Any good house training tips? Training pads never work. House training tips? Sure. Check the dog. How's the dog doing in the crate? That is how you house train the dog. If the dog is too young to handle being outside of the crate without peeing, then you have to monitor the dog, and you also have to make sure. Hi, how are you, Michelle? Then you also have to make sure the dog is going outside when you take the dog outside. So you may have to go outside with the dog, monitor the dog, and then again, if you're out there for, don't spend too much time out there, but if you're out there for enough time and you don't see your dog go to the bathroom, then what you want to do is go inside and put the dog back in the crate for another 15 minutes and try again. Meaning try again, meaning take the dog back outside, because you don't want the dog to get used to peeing in the house, because it will continue to pee in the house. But you also don't want to, let your dog free roam, so that you have to constantly follow the dog, wait for it to pee. So proper crate training means that you are teaching the dog where to go to the bathroom, and that is for your sake outside. Okay. Thank you for your question. Okay. I have a friend that I tagged on your post for dogs barking or anxiety in the car. How do you go about fixing that? Um, Her shepherd barks and cries and doesn't settle down in the car. I know she will come back and watch this video if you have some advice. Yeah, I kind of just spoke about that earlier in the video. So I'll just briefly give you a little bit more. But if you just restart the video, once it's over, then those tips are in the beginning. But again, in general, what has to happen is the dog has to listen um, to the owner's word, right? And the dog has got to be doing something to occupy the opportunity for the dog to just be taken hostage by its anxiety. Because if you don't give the dog something to do, then it's free to do so. The dog is free to act how he wants in the car. Then the dog is free to feel how he wants in the car, which in your dog's case, anxious or barking and stuff like that. So what I do is make if my dog or any behavior that is obsessive and doesn't seem to be controlled, I will give my dog something to do. They can look out the window, but if it's something that they don't, if it's something that you don't think you can control, or the dog kind of doesn't think he can even control himself, and it seems obsessive, then that's when you have to intervene and tell the dog to lay down. Okay, put the dog in a down. And again, there's ways on how to do that as well. So it's important that the dog knows how to down on command. And you can work on that inside the house before you go into the car. Because the car, teaching the dog how to down in the car may be too much for the dog all at once. Okay? So, once again, put the dog in the down so the dog has a chance to relax, and maybe you can learn to enjoy the car. So it's our responsibility to get that, in my opinion. Okay? No, it's not a bad idea, but oh, wait, wrong question. But yeah, that's what I would say for your friend. Okay? Thanks for your question. Feel free to ask another. I also have a German Shepherd that's only aggressive when people come over. He's large and all black. People are very intimidated by him. He's perfectly behaved out in public and at home, listens very well until someone pulls in. Told muzzle him till he calms down. Do you think shot collar is a bad idea? I don't think the shot collar is a bad idea if you're using it the right way. Okay, remember, when you're using the shot collar, you have to make sure, first and foremost, that you can use it in other areas, not just in one area. So the e-collar should be there to teach the dog, first and foremost, how to be off leash and come when you say come. Okay, that's how I use the e-collar. The e-collar is there for you to come when I tell you to, and it also then gives you the freedom to be off leash and then trusting that I can get to you. Now, when you go inside the house and people are over, you have to put the dog on the bed, on its bed, okay? And that come command is going to come into handy or become handy because you have taught the dog that despite what's going on, you must come. Okay, and then once you do that, your dog starts to trust your word for it. But you can't use the e-collar without your words. Okay, your word plus the e-collar is what's going to get the dog to not have a bad association with the e-collar, and also eventually have the ability not to be able to rely on the e-collar. Your word is first. E-collar is supplemental, is secondary. So get the dog to listen to your word. Come on your bed and do that. Master that with just you and him. And then you work on it with the door. You open the door with no one around because it will trigger him. And then you give that dog something to do once he gets triggered. And do that over and over and over again. And then try it with a friend or someone he knows is friendly with. so that you can, you know, um, you won't run into any potential problems, right? So that's what I would start with, that sort of process. But the dog has to listen in order to listen to you when it matters. All right, very basic. We keep things very basic. You will hear me kind of repeat myself, but I keep things as simple as possible and as basic as possible because I do know that if it doesn't matter where you are, if your dogs listen to you well, then the environment becomes secondary. If I say down, it doesn't matter where we are. I want my dogs to down. Okay, or no matter who's around or what's around, I want my dog to listen to me. But that consistency and that sort of respect starts with when it is very easy not, or it's very easy to let things go, like in the house, when it's just very convenient and you're pretty tired or whatnot, whatever it is. If you can get that dog to listen to you on those very, you know, easy moments, you have a much better shot. Okay? Thank you for your question. All right, next question. You're welcome. Feel free to ask another question. When we have one on a walk, but not when my husband and I walk three, they listen less when they're together, but individually, they behave better. That just means you have to, if you're talking about, getting your dogs to walk better all together, and they work and they listen pretty good, you know, individually, that means they've just got to listen a little bit more individually, and before you bring them together. But you can do a combination of things. You have to identify who's the worst, who's the best, and then sort of walk them in combination. Walk them individually then, and then walk two, and then walk, the other combination of two, and then bring them all together like that. That's a good way of sort of, make it so that, one dog doesn't feed off the other, because sometimes that happens. One dog will make another dog triggered, and so you kind of got to work with all three different combinations of dogs in order to sort of combat that. But if you can get better control over your dogs on an individual level, and then when you bring them together, they'll still have that same respect. It'll be a little bit more tough, maybe, but you can get there pretty easily. All right. Thank you for your question. Okay. Hi, Jeremy. How long have you been doing this, and how did you get started? I've been doing this now for 12 years. Wait a minute. Yeah, 12 years. 2006. And I got into it because I had a dog named Diesel, and I wanted to take really good care of him, so I started working at a dog daycare. I was still in college at the time, and I wanted to take care of him. And I noticed that it was awesome taking him to work and then coming home and he'd be tired, not having to deal with an energetic dog. So it worked out well for me. Got into training pretty much right away. I mean, if you're working with dogs at a dog daycare, you are training there, and it's a really good opportunity for a lot of people to, if they eventually want to work with aggressive dogs, working with non-aggressive dogs, because you'll see some of the same looks just at a lower level of intensity, but you'll see all of the similar problems just intensified. So any new trainers out there, you know, that want really good information, or just you got to sit there and watch them. You know, you'll learn different sizes, different temperaments, and all that. But more so than that, you know, you'll start to learn that in general, there are things that all dogs do, and then you'll learn that in general, there are things that all breeds do as well. You know, and then specific breeds do have specific behavior, and then specific breeders breed specific behavior because of their bias, but they're not, you know, unconsciously, they're not conscious of that sometimes. For example, there's a breeder around here who breeds German Shepherds, and they are all super anxious. Now, if you talk to this breeder, you'll see that he doesn't think that they're anxious. He thinks they're perfectly fine. Thinks he makes them smart. But the dogs are born with this fear, anxiety, and they often, you know, take to life starting with a problem. And so you're selling these dogs to people, and they are starting with a problem, and it shouldn't be like that, in my opinion. But then you'll have, you know, so different breeders can influence people's perception of dogs just based on what they're breeding. You know, if they're not interested in breeding for the betterment of the breed, but more so their own ambitions, then you'll start to see a pattern of their dogs if you spend enough time in one area. You know, even the size, even the look, all of that can be, you know, manipulated by what the breeder wants. So anyway, hi Mom, how are you? I'm not drinking this month. Sober October for me. It's been a great challenge so far. Okay. Can I use a mini prong collar on a 7-pound Yorkie? I would normally start with a slip lead. You know, the dog may respond really well to that. Just using a slip lead, standard slip lead. But I also don't see a problem with the prong collar. But I usually start off with little dogs with a slip lead because again, sometimes they respond much better to that. Okay. Okay. Thank you for your question. All right. Hi. So my dog is doing great here at home, but I'm still struggling with his reactivity and pulling because of his excitement at the beginning of our walks. Some days are better than others. Days where we have to give a lot of correction, he comes home with a raw, irritated neck from the prong collar. He doesn't seem very sensitive to our corrections. He is a pit mix. Any suggestions? Do I put him on e-collar? Yeah, I would go ahead and say you can, you know, help him learn how to heel without so much prong collar correction. And the e-collar is good for that. You know, in the beginning of the walk, you know, I give dogs the benefit of the doubt. I mean, especially a young, you know, prey-driven dog, which your dogs seem, you know, many pit mixes are. So I give them the benefit of the doubt, and you know, just try and talk them through it. That's the other thing too. You can use more voice in what you want, as opposed to, you know, using the collar without the guidance of your voice. Try using more voice. Try giving a command like back. Okay, that's one of the things I do for really tough dogs. But you can also use the e-collar at a low level as well to get them to go back as well. All right. Let me know. Keep me updated on that dog. And
I'll give you some more tips. All right, how do you stop a dog from whining even when all her needs are met? Food, water, exercise, bathroom. She tends to whine. Well, that means she probably is whining for attention, or maybe you've given into it. You've pet her while she's whining. Someone, maybe not you, maybe someone in the house. You've given her food while she whines. The dog is going to do, if it wants something bad enough and it's worked for the dog in the past, it's going to continue to do the behavior. So if dogs are whining and, like you said, all those needs are met, it may be she trying to, get something she wants. So you can, one, give her a consequence for it, or two, wait it out. Number two is going to take a lot longer to grasp because you're going to have to deal with a lot more whining. But number one, obviously, is the quicker way. And I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not so sure one is better than the other. Okay. So, all right. Do we have any questions? Because I'll talk about something. I want to talk about something that may make some people uncomfortable, but this is what life is about. Okay, you got an opinion, you should be able to express your opinion, and people express their opinion, resulting in both of you guys learning. Okay, so the problem that I see today going on in raising a dog and raising a child or having a relationship, it doesn't matter, all of it is it can't be more of one side or the other. Both, if you have, so for example, this is what, in my opinion, it takes for a healthy relationship. You have to have the right balance of masculine energy and feminine energy. Period. You have to. You have to have the right to have a good relationship with your dog, a healthy relationship. You have to have the right amount of masculine energy and feminine energy. Okay? So don't call me sexist because I didn't say male or female. I just said energy. Okay? And we all know that they can be intertwined. They can, we won't go down that road. So because I don't want to get political at all. But it is a fact, in my opinion, in my experience. Masculine and feminine energy have to be there in a balance. If one is more than the other, it is obvious to me. And it also, both sides are dangerous to have one side or the other. So have these evaluations of what you bring to the relationship with your dog. Because it'll only benefit. If you have too much masculine energy, your dog will be scared of you, intimidated by you, and they'll still bite you. If your dog has too much feminine energy, or the relationship is predicated on nothing but feminine energy, your dog still will bite you, and it's still a dangerous situation because the dog will be allowed to do whatever it wants. Okay? So both sides of the spectrum. You will get bit. If you're too soft, you will get bit. And if you're too tough, you'll still get bit, resulting in a not good, healthy relationship. You have to have both. You have to learn how to be assertive, but you also have to learn how to be loving. It just has to be clear so that it can be clear for the dog. In order for the dog to learn and to take your leadership throughout this, throughout the dog's life. Okay? And that's where sometimes I see in consulting a lot of dogs and talking to, couples, that's where sometimes arguments can occur. Arguments or maybe just disagreements on what to do. Because typically, in a typical situation, some dogs want, or some guys want to be tough on the dog, right? And then some women want to be not tough at all. Those are just facts. Those are just my experiences. These are just my experiences throughout my 12 years of doing this. And so I do try to bring them back to center with saying, okay, some of your suggestions are right, and some of your suggestions are right. Because it takes both. It just does. You can't have one or the other. Because both dogs are equally at risk of having a confused, not as healthy life. Okay, that's just what I have observed throughout my training. Lindsay says, I need to learn that balance. As I lean towards masculine energy, I see my dogs as being more afraid of me versus respect me. I don't have confidence. They wouldn't bite. Great tips, as I've been working on that exact thing. Must be a reason I tuned in. Well, I would say there's also situations where respect and fear can be, there's a thin line between respect and fear. Okay, and you gotta, only experience teaches you what that exactly looks like. You know what I mean? Confusion and fear can be two different things. Is your dog just minding you to the point where they're like, what do you want? Or are they saying, I'm intimidated at this point? You got to be able to recognize that look, because, with dogs and, with children, they communicate through playing with each other, right? Even adults playing with their children, even humans playing with their dog, they like to take it to the point where they like to push it as far as they can, almost to the point of fear. And so that's why it's so important to really roughhouse kind of play with your dog, because you are then communicating certain things and respect and how they should handle you, and how, when they take it overboard, how to stop, pretty much. And so, you got to be able to recognize, what it looks like to be fearful or what it looks like to be respectful, because some people can confuse the two, and then they give in to, your animal being respectful to you, which leads to them being disrespectful. So, tough subject, but I think it is necessary to talk about. Bree and I will see you Saturday. She's in charge of him at the pack walk, and I'll be looking forward to some tips you can give her. Perfect. See you guys there. Perfect. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I know that, again, it's a tough subject. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just overblowing it, but it is an important one. No doubt. It is an important one. I should say, for the record, though, that this, by no means am I trying to say that masculine energy only comes from men and feminine energy only comes from females, because I have definitely had clients where the men need to be more tough and the females need to be less tough. So I wanted to go ahead and say that before people get uncomfortable about that kind of crap. I think me working in dog daycare really helped me. I was working with nothing but females, and it helped me become more of a softie. Being a softie is good in the right moments. Not to say that. Okay, whatever. But anyway, so yeah, I do think. Oh, we got a question. Okay, my puppy, 14 weeks old, is skittish with new people. She moves backwards, head down a bit, and barks at certain new people. She does this with the vet tech at our vet's office, and the vet warned it's a red flag. What do you think? She doesn't do it with every new person, but she definitely a pup that takes a minute to warm up with new people. What can we do to train her to not be this way with people? She is one half Great Dane, one half English Mastiff, so it's going to be a bigger dog. Where'd you get the dog? Did you rescue this dog, or did you get this dog from a breeder? I can give you I can give you a better answer if I know that information. 14 weeks is young. Yeah, okay, so here's a classic situation where I run into a lot. So, and this is a tough one because at one point my husband got her from a person off of Craigslist. Okay. Perfect. So again, this is a tough situation because you're going to have to deal. So there's two ways to go about it. A 14-week-old skittish puppy, yes, you will have to work hard on getting people to not want to touch the dog. But that's what needs to happen in order for this dog to actually, one day be okay with it. To one day be okay with it. If everyone's wanting to come up and touch the dog right away, and the dog doesn't like it, and it continues to be, she was 9 weeks when we got her, and she continues to be touched, then that's why the barking is happening, because the dog's like, I don't want you to come up. I don't want you to come up, and so I would start allowing the dog to come to them as opposed to the other way around. It may take a while, but let the dog sort of decide whether or not to come up, and then that may help with the skittishness. Because on one hand, again, we have to breed our, make sure we're picking a dog that is going to be okay with what society brings, because there are those. Society will bring people who just want to touch your dog all the time. And either you have to say no a lot, or you say sure. But if you say sure, you should have a dog that is okay with it. If not, you got to learn how to say no. Give it some time. Hey, Rachel. So yeah, I would definitely let people give that dog. I'm not drinking this Thursday. I'm doing sober October, so I've got about 2 more weeks of no drinking. Sober October. But anyway, yeah, I would allow your dog to make the decision to come up to the person that they're greeting or not, and then I would you kind of want to raise this dog like a service dog. Service dogs aren't pet, but obviously don't have a problem with people. Why? Because people aren't allowed to just come up and touch them, so they kind of just think of it as another object. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, maybe just if someone wants to pet the dog, maybe just say, she's a little nervous at first. If she comes to you, then she can be pet. If she doesn't, she can't be pet. But don't allow people to come and touch her while she's backing up, because when she gets older, she probably will bite. If she continues to be violated by people, So you have to be the dog's advocate. and you have to keep people away from the dog if the dog doesn't want people to come up. All right? Thank you for your question. All right, folks. It's about that time. I appreciate all of your questions, very much so. I appreciate you watching. We're here every Thursday, same time. Come with some questions next time. But give me a thumbs up if it helped you at all. And I really appreciate you listening. I know we talked about some tough subjects, so thank you for that. And tell me what you think. We can always learn. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.